Well, I'm Cyrus Saatsaz, and I was supposed to have Kylen Mills with me. For some reason, she's having technical issues getting her camera going. If she joins me at any point during the show, you will see her. If not, I'm sorry, you're stuck with me. But there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Golden State Warriors. They've got open roster spots. There are names linked to the team. There is new rules regarding load management that is going to affect the Warriors directly. There's a report about Chris Paul maybe starting. We got a lot to cover, and let's get to it next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's Jase, Jase medical.com. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads at DogWile. That platform's starting to blow up. The program is still on Twitter. You can follow us there at Locked On Dubs. The chat is on fire tonight. A lot of names in here pertaining to available free agents. And why don't we start the show off with that? And again, if Kylen figures out the issues, I feel really bad. She's been trying for like 20 plus minutes. And our platform that we use to record this show will not accept her camera for some reason. We don't know what's going on. So she can't join the program right now. It's just me solo. Again, if she figures it out, she will jump in while I'm recording this. I'm going live here. But first things first, the Sacramento Kings had some news earlier this week. And it was news that wasn't very surprising when you consider the fact that they have 5 to 6 centers on their roster before this news. They signed JaVale McGee, a player that you've heard me on this show say repeatedly, I want him on the Warriors. The Dallas Mavericks let him go. There was some reason to be maybe optimistic about that. And then the Sacramento Kings snatched him up. The same Sacramento Kings that earlier this offseason re-signed Alex Len. The same Sacramento Kings that signed Nerlens Noel, and they also signed a player that a lot of people like, and I wouldn't mind him either. And I hope I correctly pronounce his name, Neemias Queta. His first name is Neemias, Neemias, last name Queta, Queta. Look, if either of those players joins the Warriors, I'm ecstatic because both players fit a sore knee. And by the way, what up to everyone in the chat who's joining the program as well. Impeccable, would love Boogie Cousins. So would we, but it doesn't seem like that's in play for the Warriors. It seems like they are not interested. But regardless, right now, Nerlens Noel and this other player who's a former second-round pick in the 2021 draft for the Sacramento Kings, Queta, he would be awesome. He's a 7-footer who is a large human being. He causes issues defensively. The Warriors have had their experiences with him, mostly in the G League, and he always, again, causes problems for the Golden State Warriors. So if he becomes a member of the Warriors, I would love that. If the Warriors end up adding Nerlens Noel, I would love that. But those two bigs are now available. I've mentioned Bismack Biyombo before as a player that I personally would love. He's still out there as well. So I hope they do something because right now the Golden State Warriors still have 2 roster openings. They have 13 players signed to guaranteed deals, and we still have no idea what they're going to be doing with those final 2 roster spots. Now, even though Nerlens Noel, I feel like would be awesome, even though this kid, Queta, would be awesome, the Golden State Warriors, according to a report that came out from, let me see if I can find the source here real fast. Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype. He published a story a few days ago that included the Warriors in his piece. And this story had a lot of names in there that were not previously linked to the Warriors, but they apparently reportedly have come in and tried out for the team. Now, the players that the Warriors have reportedly brought in for workouts include former Golden State Warrior Kent Bazemore. No, thank you. Huge no thank you to that. I know Stephen Curry loves them and they're close friends, but look, Kent Bazemore, unless you strictly just want someone to hype up your bench and be a rallying point there, I don't understand the Kent Bazemore love affair the Warriors have with him. But he is either worked out twice or at least once for the Golden State Warriors. He's still apparently on the radar. Huge no to that. No, thank you. Juan Toscano Anderson, Michael Scotto is reporting, has come in recently. I don't know what recently means, but that's the word that was used in the story for a workout with the Golden State Warriors. I wouldn't hate that. Juan Toscano Anderson was a important utility player for this Golden State Warriors team on a world championship roster. He can play center if he has to. He knows the system. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if Juan Toscano Anderson ends up getting that 14th roster spot. Now, Kylen and I have talked about this before. It is weird that the Warriors are making him work out. I think they know what the finished product is. He was only on this team a year and a half ago. I mean, again, he was on the championship roster. It wasn't until that offseason, a little over a year ago, where he bounced and went to the LA Lakers. And thank you, Impeccable, for adding that Kent Bazemore shot 25% from three on open shots. So Bruce Morrow does not like Juan Toscano Anderson, but look, if that's who it becomes, I wouldn't hate it. Again, he can play the middle if he has to. He doesn't make mistakes. He's not going to blow you out of the water, but at least he's a safe and sound choice. So if that ends up being the 14th player on this roster, so be it. So he worked out, but that's not all. There is more. The Warriors also worked out Dwayne Dedmon. Now, Dwayne Dedmon fits your traditional center, right? This is a big, he's what, a 7-footer or something, certainly close to that. And when I'm looking at these players, he's actually listed as 6'10". He's a veteran, 34 years of age, but he plays like a true big. He is a true center. Again, when you're looking at these bigs, what I'm looking for at least is someone that you could throw in there for 10, 15 minutes a night and not just be a sacrificial lamb playing up against Nikola Jokic or Anthony Davis or some of the elite bigs in the NBA. I want them to actually play defense against these guys and not just be a doormat for them to just walk over and score. Dwayne Dedmon could do that. I wouldn't hate on the Dwayne Dedmon choice. So Dwayne Dedmon is reportedly another player. He was with the Philadelphia 76ers last year. Been in the league for a long time. He's played on a lot of teams. Last year, I think he was also with the Miami Heat. And look, he'll give you size. He'll give you some defense. You're not signing Dwayne Dedmon for the offense, certainly. But he's in. He has come in for a workout recently, and that might be a possibility. So Dwayne Dedmon is a player that has come in and worked out for the Golden State Warriors. There is more. Will Barton, a guard. I don't know about that. That one is weird to me. That one is in the same sentence, in the same category as Kent Bazemore, except it'd be an upgrade. But Will Barton, I just don't know how he's going to fit with the Golden State Warriors. I don't understand really what the point is. So anyways, regardless, that's another player who has come in recently and worked out for the Warriors. Will Barton, again, solid shooting guard, nothing to write home about. I don't know if that fills a need. Now the Warriors did work out a player that I've raved about, and he's much more of a Swiss Army knife, and I'm referring to Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson, or I'm sorry, he's not a Swiss Army knife. He's a big, and I think he was last year. He played for the Lakers, I believe. He's 6'7", so he is a Swiss Army knife. I'm sorry, but he can play defense on bigger players. He can play defense on wings. So he is kind of a Swiss Army knife. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused there. I apologize for that. So Stanley Johnson has come in to work out for the Golden State Warriors. I've talked about him on this show before. I would not hate it. I think Stanley Johnson would be someone who would give you some tough minutes. Again, he can play a wide variety of positions. He's not super old. I believe he's 27 years old currently. And again, if you want a player who can you can use as a versatility guy, someone who can defend all 5 positions. Stanley Johnson fits that mold. He's also not a liability offensively. I wouldn't hate it. And I'm actually pretty happy that Stanley Johnson was worked out by the Golden State Warriors. So that's a possibility. Another big that the Golden State Warriors have recently brought in, and this is a player that I'm a little surprised they tried out because he's a much more slow, prodding type player. If you're adding this individual, you're doing it for rebounds and you're maybe doing it for defense. I honestly don't even know how good of a defender he is, but he does give you size. And that's another, I believe, 7-footer in Derek Favors, who has been playing with the Utah Jazz for a while. That's who he's most synonymous with. So the Warriors worked out Derek Favors. I wouldn't hate that either. Regardless, sorry, Kylen was just texting me, and this really sucks. She was supposed to join me tonight on the show. I apologize again that it's just me by myself. But regardless, so those are the players that were worked out. One more time, I'll read them off to you again. This is courtesy of Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype. The Warriors have recently, whatever that word means, that's the word he used in his story, have worked out Kent Bazemore, Juan Toscano-Anderson, all right. Dwayne Dedman, all right. Will Barton, I don't know about that. I just don't know what the point is to bring in a Will Barton. Here's a player I forgot to mention as well. And this is someone who I'm not very familiar with. This is the one I've not listed before. Sorry. And that's Jalen Noel. I'm not super familiar with Jaden Noel. I know he played for the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. I know he's a solid shooting guard. He put up good numbers in terms of shooting percentages last year. I believe he shot 39.4% from 3 a year ago. So you're getting someone who can shoot. You're getting someone who brings athleticism with youth. So Jalen Noel is also a player who was tried out by the Warriors. He's 6'4". So again, you're not getting someone who's big. So I don't even know if Mike Dunleavy Jr. knows what he wants entirely. I mean, when you consider the fact that you're bringing in a wide variety of different players to work out. I honestly don't know what the answer here is in terms of what the Warriors want, what the Warriors are looking for. But Kent Bazemore, please don't do that. Juan Toscano-Anderson, yeah. Dwayne Dedman, yeah. Will Barton, I don't know what the point is. Jalen Noel, again, I'm not familiar with his defense. If he's a solid defender, I wouldn't hate it because he's a tremendous shooter. Stanley Johnson, who I've liked before, again, Swiss Army type player. He's 6'7". He's bigger. He's not a scrawny type player. And then Derek Favors, who is 32, has been a long time center, very traditional center for the Utah Jazz. That's who the Warriors have worked out recently. They've yet to make any decisions. I'm trying to see if anyone in the chat has any opinions on any of these players that I mentioned. Bruce Morrow is saying no thank you to Jalen Noel, saying a huge no thank you. But then Bruce Morrow is also saying he's not a great shooter either, even though he did shoot 39.4% last year. So regardless, that is who the Warriors have worked out recently. Nothing that would excite me, but again, at least those bigs, if you do sign them, they can give you minutes playing against the top tier bigs in this league, just to get your 6 fouls and let your other players rest. And hopefully these aren't like a consequential 6 fouls, meaning the 6 fouls they give up don't come with a massive negative in the plus minus. Hopefully this player will grab a lot of rebounds, play decent defense. So the search continues. And I don't know when training camp officially opens. I don't think the Warriors have announced that yet. I believe last year training camp opened on September 24th. I'm recording this on September 14th today. So regardless, that position remains open. When I come back, I'm going to talk about a report that was released by Mark Spears of ESPN regarding Chris Paul, which was kind of fascinating. I also want to touch a little bit on Team USA in regard to how they did. I was a little more critical on Threads than maybe I should have been once I learned that some of the bigs on Team USA were actually injured. So Steve Kerr didn't really have an option. But regardless, the team comes home empty-handed without a medal. So we'll talk about that and a lot more. Got to give love first to a brand new sponsor on this program, and that is Jase Medical. Sorry, my phone is just blowing up here. So Jase Medical, again, is a brand new sponsor, and they're an awesome sponsor if you're looking for some sort of insurance policy at home for a medical issue. The Jase Medical is all about selling you what's called the Jase case, right? And the Jase case is a medical bag that has a lot of really important supplies in there if you encounter some sort of medical emergency at home. What comes in the Jase case? It includes 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. So you don't have to go get a prescription for it. It's ready to go. All you have to do to get a Jase case is just fill out a simple online form. And in some cases, maybe jump on a quick call with one of their board certified physicians. And that's it. And you can get a supply of antibiotics among many supplies that come in a Jase case. You can get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment related questions. A Jase case is doctor created and doctor recommended. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics and a lot more that comes inside the Jase Medical case, aka the Jase case. You also get an additional $20 off if you use the code Locked On at checkout on jasemedical.com. Strongly recommend it. It's great to have as an insurance policy at home in case you encounter any medical emergencies that requires a medical kit. Except with the Jase case, you're also getting antibiotics included in that, which is huge. So again, save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off if you use the promo code Locked On at checkout by going to jasemedical.com. That's Jase, Jase, medical.com, and use the promo code Locked On.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow on the show, CJ Holmes, San Francisco Chronicles Golden State Warriors beat reporter, joins me tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. You can follow me on Threads at Dog Wild and follow the program on Twitter. We are still there in terms of the show's account at Locked On Dubs. I want to play this soundbite. This is courtesy of Mark Spears. He was on Yahoo Sports' podcast, and he had some interesting things to say when it comes to Chris Paul. The insinuation largely has been that Chris Paul is going to be coming off the bench, right? Well, not according to this report. According to Mark Spears, I'm going to play the soundbite because there's actually sound from this. Chris Paul might be starting. Let's take a listen to what Mark Spears, Hall of Fame reporter, has to say.
I do expect him to start.
Really?
I do, yeah. And I think it's like 5-minute spurts. I don't know that they really want his minutes to be high, but I think they're going to try it. You know, I could be wrong, but that's the gist that I'm getting. This isn't an opinion. This is just what I'm hearing, that he's expected to start.
So Mark Spears is connected, right? And so if he's telling you that he's hearing that that Chris Paul is going to start, that likely means Chris Paul is going to start. Now, what does that mean? It means a lot of things. For starters, it means that your starting lineup is going to be even smaller than it already is. Because the big question, if Chris Paul is indeed your starter, is who the hell is going to go to the bench? I mean, is it going to be Kevon Looney? Because if that's the case, then your 6'5" Draymond Green is suddenly your starting center. Andrew Wiggins, who has played most of his career as a shooting guard, is now your your power forward. I don't get it. And Douglas Mikes is writing here that if the Warriors start CP3 to satiate him, then the Warriors are not serious people. Look, you might be right. I don't understand the logic behind that. I don't understand the rationale behind starting Chris Paul. The only reasoning for that, and Jill Espina, right, Steph goes to the bench, no problemo. I mean, look, it's I don't know if you want to bring Steph Curry off the bench, and if that's the result of Chris Paul, I don't like the impact so far. But Chris Paul, look, we heard what he had to say when he was questioned about his role with the Warriors. His immediate response was, "Are you the coach?" He was pretty snide about it. He's never come off the bench in his entire career. It's a point of pride for a lot of these players, starting versus coming off the bench. For Chris Paul, it matters. Yeah, Daniel Reed, I agree with you. It's absolutely insane. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, Mark Spears is reporting that Chris Paul is going to be starting. And if he does start, I mean, look, on one hand, offensively, you have an advantage. You have extra speed. You have another scorer / ball handler out there, because in all likelihood, he's going to take Kevon Looney's spot. But you're going to get killed in a lot of categories, starting with rebounding, especially offensive rebounding. It isn't just the rebounding that kills you when you play small ball. It's also second chance points, because you're also eliminating almost any chance of grabbing offensive rebounds. And that's where a lot of second chance points comes from. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan if Chris Paul is starting for this team, because then you have Stephen Curry as your shooting guard. That is such a small backcourt that when you're playing teams with bigger backcourts, which a lot of teams have, they're going to own these guys and they're going to wear them out really fast. I just don't understand the logic. And AC is asking, I wonder how Mark Spears hears CP is starting when Kerr is in Asia and has been coaching Team USA for the past month. Great question. But Mark Spears is incredibly connected. Maybe it's from Chris Paul himself. Maybe Chris Paul told him that, he talked to coach and he's going to be starting. Maybe it was from another assistant coach. I have no idea. Maybe he talked to Chris Paul with he talked to Steve Kerr via text message. I don't understand. I don't know how he knows this, but Mark Spears is very trustworthy. He wouldn't just be saying that just for the sake of it, especially when he's on someone else's show. So it's crazy, man. And I have no idea what's going to come of that. But regardless, we're going to wrap the show up talking a little bit about Team USA. I also want to bring up an interesting caveat when it comes to the news pertaining to load management, because the Warriors are particularly affected by that. So I'm going to cover those stories as we wrap up the show. First, got to give some love to another sponsor. First of all, we're going back to the full-time schedule next week. So expect daily coverage from this program again very soon, at least 5 days a week, or 5 shows a week. I'm sorry. Yeah, and part of that includes more ad reads. And so this one is FanDuel, which has become a staple when it comes to sponsors for the Locked On Podcast Network. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. A friendly reminder again for the everydayers and for everyone else who joins this show regularly. CJ Holmes will be joining me tomorrow. We're going to be recording that, and it's coming soon. Kylen Mills was supposed to join me. Apparently, the last message I got from her is that our streaming platform is having an issue with the manufacturer, meaning her computer. Okay, so she's got to deal with her own issues when it comes to figuring out just how to join me on this program. So if you follow us on Twitter at Locked On Dubs, we that's where we update all our show times. And I'm on Threads. It's starting to blow up, and I post everything there pertaining to the Warriors, the NBA, and more. Follow me there at Dog Wild. Wrapping the show up. So I want to show this graphic with you because the NBA released this new policy pertaining to load management. They came out and said that teams are no longer allowed to rest 2 or more all-star level players in the same game. So meaning if teams do load manage, you can only do 1 all-star at a time. Now, how do you define what an all-star is? Well, according to the NBA, it's any player who has either reached an all-star game or who has made an all-NBA team over the last 3 seasons. Now, in case you're wondering, well, the all-star game is at like the 2/3 of the season mark. What if a player gets named to the All-Star team this year? Can you have 2 players load managed for the remainder of the season? No, that was actually addressed. And so let's say for the sake of argument, I think in the example I saw, if the Philadelphia 76ers Tyrese Maxey makes the All-Star team this year, him and Joel Embiid would not be allowed to be load managed simultaneously for the remainder of the season. And the reason why I bring this up for the Warriors is because the Warriors have a lot of players on their roster who fits the definition of an all-star. And I want to show you this graphic real quick. This is courtesy of, I think this was ESPN. And again, it was just a graphic listing the teams who have the most star players that are subject to new player participation, new player participation policy. And the Warriors have 4 players who fit the definition of an all-star: Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Chris Paul, and Andrew Wiggins. Incredibly, Klay Thompson, thankfully, does not fit this because he hasn't made an all-star team, largely due to the years he's missed because of injury. And he also hasn't made an all-NBA team in 3+ years. So he will not be subject to this. But the Warriors, they're an older team, and this rule will especially apply to that. Now, there is an exception that's already come out. And the exception is that if a player is 35 or older, they will not be included in this. So that means LeBron is excluded. That also means Stephen Curry is excluded. There's also some other rule pertaining to the number of minutes you played where you can get an exception. So they have a certain Bruce Morrow writes, dang, Clay's offended now. By the way, B40 quickly writing, trade Wiggins and CP3 for Pascal Siakam. I've heard a lot of speculation about Pascal Siakam being traded. He would be phenomenal on the Golden State Warriors, but unfortunately, I haven't seen anything speculative or otherwise linking Pascal Siakam to the Golden State Warriors. You are correct, Jill Espina. The injury-prone Chris Paul. He is injury-prone. He's almost every postseason he ends up missing games because of injury. So regardless, that's going to affect the Golden State Warriors when it comes to load management, especially if it's later in the season where the team is older and wants to start resting guys. Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins cannot rest together. And Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul, again, those are the 3. Stephen Curry apparently will not be lumped in with this because of his age. And thankfully, Klay Thompson won't either. But regardless, that's one caveat. I wanted to finish the show up discussing Team USA. And I want to just apologize because at least on Threads, I was critical of Steve Kerr for what I thought was another small ball mentality in the bronze medal game that they lost to Canada. But it turns out the Team USA was missing 3 bigs because of injury. Illness. Jaren Jackson Jr. missed the game because, and they said it was a respiratory issue. So who knows what that means? They had COVID or had the flu. I don't know. But apparently Jaren Jackson Jr. was affected by this. Apparently Brandon Ingram was affected by this. And Paolo Banchero was affected by this. And those are 3 of the pivotal big/taller players for Team USA. So they didn't have any of those 3 players available to them in the bronze medal game that they lost to Canada. I was initially very critical that I didn't see any of those players. We did see some Walker Kessler out there, but ultimately Team USA lost and didn't medal. And soon after Team USA finished 4th in the FIBA Basketball World Cup, it was announced that LeBron James wants to play in the Olympics next summer, and he's trying to recruit other stars, including Stephen Curry. I have a strong feeling that Stephen Curry will play in the Olympics next year. Olympic gold is really the only accomplishment left that he has not achieved. So it wouldn't surprise me if and he's also talked about this upcoming Olympics 2024 as being the one that if he's going to play in them, that would be it. So don't be surprised if Steph is in there. Don't be surprised if LeBron is in there, Kevin Durant, a whole bunch of stars that are maybe getting up there in years. We still will probably see them in next summer's Olympics, where Team USA will try to redeem disappointing 4th place finish in the World Cup by winning Olympic gold. Anything else? I just want to say, B40, Curry, and who? And Bourne? You mean Braun? Yes, please. Absolutely. Yeah, they're on the same team. I agree. Daniel Reed writes, the Warriors need help badly. We need a center and to not start Chris Paul. Totally agree with you. That's all I've been saying this whole show. So I do not like the idea of Chris Paul starting. And I do not like the idea that the Warriors right now still only have 4 players that constitute a front court. Kevon Looney, who's 6'9", and by the way, he was drafted as a small forward. Draymond Green, who's 6'5", 6'6" with shoes. Dario Saric, who is 6'10", never really known for his defensive prowess, but he is now the Warriors' biggest player. And then you have Trace Jackson Davis, a rookie. Now, granted, a rookie we're all excited about, but it makes me skeptical to trust and rely on a rookie to defend and play significant minutes against other teams that are a lot bigger. So it is AC's correcting me here. Maybe I'm wrong. Not really supposed to pronounce the H in Banchero. So what is it? How do you then? Whatever. I'll figure that out another day. And B40. Yes, Dwight Howard on the Warriors. I would love it, but that's another player that it seems like that the team is not interested. It seems like nobody in the NBA is interested in Dwight Howard. I would love that. I really would. That is something I would love on this roster. I just want someone who can deal with Nikola Jokic for 15 minutes a night. I want someone who can help deal with Anthony Davis for 15 minutes a night. I don't know if the Warriors have that right now. Kevon Looney, he has shown he can't defend those guys. Okay, there are limits to Looney's defense. Those are the limits. Okay, he can't handle Jokic that well. He can't handle Anthony Davis that well. So to put those kind of players, the impetus of defending them for 3/4 of a basketball game, because you're going to probably rely on Draymond Green for the 4th quarter, but for quarters 1 through 3, you're going to put Kevon Looney on those guys who, again, he's been just completely exposed time and time and again by them. You're going to put Dario Saric, who really has never been known for his defense. He's much more of a finesse big. It's a little sketchy. So I don't know what's going on. Douglas Mikes adds that Dwight Howard might be dealing with some legal issue. I don't know. I don't know if he is. And Ken Mamba, I'll wrap up the show here, says, with all due respect to Saric, I don't think he can fill in the much needed hustle and rebounds the Warriors badly need. You might be right. Serge Ibaka is another player that's, right as I'm wrapping up, I see you.
Oh,
right
no,
as I'm wrapping up.
sorry. I literally had to talk to customer service with the laptop manufacturer because I had to manually uninstall and reinstall the internal camera function. So
that's what you had to do?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So sometimes it happens where the internal camera gets disconnected, but usually if you turn it off and on, it'll auto reset itself and reconnect itself. But basically it wasn't doing that. So there's a way to manually go in and go into 8 different settings where you have to uninstall it and reinstall it. So basically I just had to have someone walk me through that.
All right. Well, you want to stick around?
And to even get them to the right thing, I had to find the serial number and it just.
Well, better late than never. Do you want to stick around and give your thoughts on everything I've said?
I have no idea.
Do you have a few minutes?
About. I have no idea. But it's up to you. What's up?
No, I can hang out. Do you have a few minutes though? I mean,
Yeah. I have a few minutes. Okay.